Could a tax on plastic bottles solve the pollution problems on UK shores? We're going to read into this piece from Sky News, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Sky News with the headline that could a tax on plastic bottles solve the pollution problems on UK shores. The Marine Conservation Society is now urging the government to introduce a deposit scheme for plastic bottles. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. I think, yes, is the answer. I think anything to incentivize more people to clean up after themselves is a good thing. And I think we should be. I always think if there are ways you can incentivize people to clean up after themselves, when it comes to litter picking, recycling, all these kind of things. One of the ways, if you incentivize people with a little bit of money, people will do it. People will go out of their way to do it, and a tax may be the solution here. So before I read anymore, I just wanted to share this video with you guys from Sky News about the seaside cleanup, showing how shows that the plastic bag tax is working.
This is Brighton, and it's far from pristine.
Yeah, probably about 20 pieces of different things.
I go swimming quite a lot, and yeah, sometimes you can see plastic and wrappers when you're out there, and that just feels pretty rotten.
But new figures show there are at least fewer plastic bags on the shoreline, down 80% since a 5p tax was introduced 10 years ago. The Marine Conservation Society is now urging the new government to bring in deposits on bottles. A scheme was proposed several years ago, but has been bogged down by industry lobbying.
And this is I think, when I look back on that 5p tax on plastic bags, I remember because I used to work in retail back then, the outrage that people had about the 5p bag. People couldn't believe that they had to pay 5p per bag. But my oh my, did it make such a difference in terms of so much bags being wasted, guys. Companies, businesses save money on plastic bags. People were forced to use reusable bags. It forced people to change their habits a little bit when it came to plastic bags and not abusing them as well. And although people still every now and then, every now and then I will buy a plastic bag, even though that I should have a reusable bag whenever I go out and whenever I go to the shops. But it makes a big difference. It forces people to that if they want a plastic bag, they should pay for it because of the damage that bag has caused, because every plastic bag is a damage to the environment. Now this idea, obviously, with bottles is definitely an interesting one, to say the least.
The charity says the decline in bags shows that financial incentives work.
Prove that there was a problem, and a simple charge meant that they had a really positive effect for our environment. And then it just shows that let's continue with the other things that we're producing that are single use, and make those changes, because we can see the effect quite quickly, and that's what we need.
If you can do it with plastic bags, you can do this with plastic bottles, you can do this with other recycling schemes. I'm sure there may be some councils out there that have some local ideas, but this is something that needs to be done on a national level. I think, one of the things that is we have made progress in the right directions, and we have made steps in the right directions. One of the things I would like to see more of, that I don't see enough of in enough towns and cities or places that I go to, I don't see enough of separate bins, one for general waste, one for recycling, and one for cardboard or whatever. I don't see enough separated bins in towns and in cities, and more of that needs to be done to help separate and to help separate more recycling, as opposed to just having general wasted bins everywhere, because 9 times out of 10 they just ended up getting overloaded. We need to do more separating, and we need to encourage people to do more separating. And it's not just that. For me, it's also about from an educational standpoint, teaching this to children. Imagine doing this, yeah. I would recommend, if there's a teacher watching, imagine taking your children down to a beach or a shore and showing them the rubbish, and then getting them to do one day, having them clear up the rubbish and everything, and say, imagine it like showing them how important it is to look after the environment, to look after nature, to look after our beaches, our beaches and our parks and whatnot, and just putting that idea and mindset in their heads at a young age, teaching them how important it is to just not dump things on the floor, to put things where they belong in the right manner. I think there's definitely something there that needs to be challenged when it comes to obviously the mindsets of children as well. I'm going a bit off topic, but I do think you can definitely tie in education into the mindsets, because what I would like to see is, yes, I'm definitely in favour of a tax for more tax to push more people into doing this, but I also want to tie in the next generation to understand how important it is about cleaning up after themselves, about showing that they're not making a mess and all that kind of stuff, and how important it is, because we have way too many youngsters these days who just dump things everywhere, especially in England. It's a real problem.
It is a global problem. According to the United Nations, 1 million plastic bottles are bought worldwide every second. 5 trillion plastic bags are used every year, and half of all plastic is used once and then thrown away.
And as you guys know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a victim too. I have bottles here that I have on my side that I use instead of using a reusable one. So I'm not gonna, but I try to make use of these for those who are curious. I normally have 2 bottles. Sometimes I'll have 3. Obviously, at the moment the heat is right. What I tend to do is I try to reuse them as much as I possibly can before disposing them. Try to rewash them and whatnot. Yes, I can see someone in the comments saying, "Why aren't you using a reusable bottle?" I don't have an excuse for that, so all I can say is I apologise. But yeah, I'm just as guilty as other people when it comes to bottled drinks, and we all, including myself, need to get out of this mindset of using less bottles.
175 nations voted 2 years ago to negotiate a global plastics treaty, but some countries that produce fossil fuels, the raw ingredient for plastic, are pushing back on targets to reduce the amount being made. Scientists say production cuts are essential.
Yeah, this is obviously you would expect you knew that those fossil fuels and whatnot companies would try to stop this kind of thing. This is not surprising from anyone, if I'm honest.
I don't think we can solve the plastic crisis just by using waste management. And this is because we can't manage everything. We know that there's mismanaged waste. We know that as plastic pollution gets out into the environment, it's going to get into places that we just can't clean up.
Beach cleans can only do so much. The government says it will look again at a deposit scheme on bottles, and it wants a binding global treaty that reduces production of plastic to sustainable levels.
A very good video piece there by Thomas Moore there from Brighton. But yeah, more definitely needs to be done. Definitely needs to be done, you guys. So let's read more into this, you guys. So the number of plastic bags found in Britain's beaches have fallen by 80% since the introduction of the levy around a decade ago, new figures have shown. The Marine Conservationist Society, the MCS, which monitors litter on the shoreline, is now urging the government to build on the success by introducing a deposit scheme for plastic bottles, which are a growing problem. According to the charity, 4,684 plastic bags were recorded last year by volunteers doing beach cleans around the country. That's an average of 1 bag of every 100 metres of beaches surveyed, down from 5 per 100 metre in 2014. Wales was the first UK nation to bring a levy on plastic bags in 2011. England was the last to introduce a 5p levy in 2015, which increased to 10p in 2021. Yeah, increasing it to 10p was a good idea as well. Lizzie Price, beachwatch manager at the MCS, told Sky News it shows just how small a change like 5p can make everyone think twice and look towards more sustainable alternatives, but we cannot afford to rest on our laurels. We need broader policies that change on the ban on single-use items where possible, such as the proposed deposit return schemes for plastic bottles, cans and glasses. MCS data show that between 2022 and 2023, the number of plastic bottles found on beaches has increased by 14%. The last government proposed putting deposits on bottles to encourage recycling in 2017, but this has been delayed until at least 2027 as it struggled to agree with the scheme with businesses. Similar deposit schemes in other countries have dramatically reduced the number of bottles littered in the environment. The new government says it will take another look at changes to packages, including deposits on bottles. It also wants binding regulations as part of the Global Plastics Treaty. Talks involve 175 nations of being bogged down on lobbying of the fossil fuel industry. Oil is the raw ingredient of plastic, and some countries have been pushing back on proposals to reduce the production of the material. But Lucy Woodwell, Associate Professor of Marine Conservation and Policy at Exeter University, said the amount of new plastic being made must be significantly reduced. I don't think we can solve the plastic crisis just by using waste management, she said. We know that there's a mismanagement waste. We know that as plastic pollution gets out into the environment, it's going to get places that we just can't clean up. Yeah, which is, they said already. Yeah, once it's out of our reach, it's out of our reach. The last 5 rounds of the United Nations agreed to a treaty are set for the end of November, but the draft is currently riddled with text in brackets that still need to be resolved, and a deal is far from certain. The UK is part of a high ambitious coalition of countries that want the plastic production reduction reduced to sustainable levels. A spokesperson for the Department of Environment and Food and Rural Affairs said, "Plastic pollution has for too long littered our streets, plagued Britain's rivers and seas, and threatened our wildlife. That is why the new government is committed to cutting our resilience on plastic as we move towards a zero waste economy." Now, they have said a lot about, obviously, net zero and whatnot. So I do hope that DEFRA does take a look at reviews this more. Obviously, like I say, it's early days for this government, so we can't really throw them under the bus or anything over this. But I do think they should review this and look at this and see what they can do too. I definitely there's no doubt there will be cross-party consent on this. I do think the likes of the Greens, the Lib Dems will obviously be the Greens. I'm sure will obviously want to have some say in it, but I do think definitely this is something that can be done, and obviously time will tell. But what I would want from you guys is, what do you think about plastic bottles? What do you think about the use of them? Should we be taxing them? What other ways, other ideas, or maybe some of the schemes and taxes that you have in your own countries? Perhaps if some of you from outside the UK have some ideas and policies that maybe you could shine a light on me and the rest of the viewers here. So please let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. Now, if you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or even join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.